Hello, BookTube. I thought today we'd look at some more vintage magazines. I'd like to look at some old Twilight Zone magazines. So we start off here. You can see the cover there. This is the October 1982 Twilight Zone magazine. Give you an idea of some of the advertising in it. An ad here for the Mystery Guild. Some of you recognize that. So for the fiction, we have Summer of Monsters by Dale Hamill, Mexican Merry-Go-Round by Avram Davidson, 5 Minutes Early by Robert Sheckley, The Silly Stuff by Al Sarantonio, In a Green Shade by Melissa Mia Hall, One Small Change by Gary Brander, Alive and Well by Michael S. Smith, Pigs Are Sensitive by John Wynne Tyson, and Saratoga Winter by Jeff Heck. So in the Twilight Zone is a feature. Then TZ interview is with Nicholas Meyer. Broken Walls, Shattered Dreams by Duncan McLaren and Simon Marsden. A show-by-show guide to TV's Twilight Zone Part 19. And Twilight Zone Classic Teleplay in Praise of Pip by Rod Serling. And then Other Dimensions, you have Screen by Ron Goulart, Books by Thomas Dish, Spoken Word Records by Ronald Smith, Quiz, So Saying He Vanished by Chet Williamson. And so here, Broken Walls, Shattered Dreams. Magnificent even in death, these ruined Irish mansions are now haunted by ghosts and by history. Some of you will remember the Twilight Zone television series with Ron Serling. Nicholas Meyer interview. He also is a novelist. He wrote some Sherlock Holmes type stuff. Avram Davidson, Mexican Merry-Go-Round. The next one I have is Rod Serling's Twilight Zone magazine, November 1982. Sort of a Christmassy looking theme. The Adventure is Yours with Dungeons and Dragons Adventure Fantasy Games. That old ad. Cover on this one's a little loose. That happens with these. I think I can get to the table of contents here. Here's some of the folks in the magazine. So you got Haunting, Tales of Halloween You'll Never Forget. John Carpenter on shooting the movie The Thing. Stephen King, The Evil Dead. Halloween 3 full color preview. Gahan Wilson, The Spielberg Phenomenon. Thomas Dish, Books for Burning. Rod Serling's The Quality of Mercy. A photo tour of the Country of the Dead. Supernatural classic, Levitation, and a new horror movie quiz. There's Country of the Dead. It's a little folder thing that pops out here. Halloween. The Evil Dead. That was in rough shape. This next one Advanced Dungeons and Dragons gaming system there. Okay. So this one is June 1983. There's this ad for the Science Fiction Book Club. You probably recognize some of those books. Alright, so for fiction, we start off with The Raft by Stephen King. In the Field of the Dying Cherry Tree by Curtis K. Statfeld. Harry's Story by Robert H. Curtis. The Tuck at the Foot of the Bed by Ardath Mayhart. A Fragment of Fact, Chris Massey. Takeover Bid, Andrew Weiner. And Listen by Joe R. Lansdale. The Twilight Zone Interviews with V.C. Andrews by Lorenzo Carcaterra. Screen previews are TZ's Triple Bill, Something Wicked This Way Comes, Psycho 2, and The Keep. Isidore Highbloom is The Confessions of a Freelance Fantasist, Part 1. Thomas Dish, R.S. Haji, and Carl Edward Wagner do a fantasy 5-foot shelf. They have another show-by-show guide to TV's Twilight Zone. And their classic Twilight Zone teleplay is The Lonely. So here's an ad for a horror novel from the day. Up in the corner there, you can see a very young Stephen King. Oh, here's for books. You have Gene Wolfe's The Citadel of the Autarch and Norman Spinrad's Void Captain's Tale, both of which I enjoyed, being reviewed here by Tom Dish. Let's see what else. Dark Scene, a little thing from Dark Crystal. The Keep. Oh, Psycho 2. Something Wicked This Way Comes. Right up here, it's hard to do, but right there you have Ray Bradbury. Let me get it back up there so you can look for yourself. Mad Max. So, Mel Gibson there. Let's see what we got for the next one. Rod Sterling's The Twilight Zone, August 1983. Supernatural Cats. And an ad for Twilight Zone, the movie. Let's see here. So, the Twilight Zone interview is with H.P. Lovecraft. And then they something about cats by H.P. Lovecraft's following that. So let's see, page 22. Oh, there's Lovecraft. Part of his whole letter he wrote. More stuff there. Well, let's move right along. So, Rod Sterling's The Twilight Zone, and then this is about the movie. October 1983. Little John Lithgow there. So, John Landis gives a guided tour of hell. Interview with John Landis. Steven Spielberg turns back the clock. An interview with Richard Matheson. An interview with Scatmore Crothers. Joe Dante unleashes every adult's nightmare. So we have interviews with Kevin McCarthy, William Shillart, Jeremy Litt, and Rob Botton. Interview with Joe Dante. For fiction, Barney by Will Stanton. Let's see here. Scene from the Blues Brothers. Go to Sleep by Joe Skip. Hey, like that TV. Then we have Twilight Zone, December '83. The cover has Stephen King's Dead Zone, filming the impossible. Timothy Hutton and Iceman. And then Tor Books is about to release Conan the Triumphant. So, for fiction, you have Imagine by Frederick Brown, Ursa Minor by John Sladek. Let's see if anything else there. Yeah, that's the most interesting stuff. Oh, here, if you like to join a RCA record club, you can get 4 tapes or records for the price of 1. Led Zeppelin. This guy, this writer here, he's just getting ready to start chapter 2. A classic vignette by Frederick Brown called Imagine. John Sladek's Ursa Minor. Some monsters. Dead Zone. Okay, let's move it along here. Twilight Zone special issue from February of '84. Stephen King's Christine. You get some Star Wars and Outer Limits on the cover. So, fiction got Honka by Isaac Bezhenev Singer. What else? John Carpenter's Harlequin. Jerome K. Jerome, Told After Supper. They get a screen preview of Christine. It's Christine. Some movies you may recognize there. And then Twilight Zone, April of '84, anniversary issue. The Gahan Wilson lithograph. A very young John McEnroe in an ad. Burgess Meredith. Dreamscape. Oh, some of you may recognize the fellow on this cover. This is Twilight Zone, June of '84. Oh, we have, let's see. Just let you take a look at the table of contents there. Absent Friends by John Slater. Now this one's going to be a little hard to handle. Unfortunately, this copy is beat up. There's the ad on the back. Ghostbusters. This is August of '84. I really ought to either get rid of it or put it in plastic. Star Trek 3. Sorry, I tried to move my finger out of the way there. You got Conan, Ghostbusters. Yeah, too bad about that cover. Indiana Jones Returns. Twilight Zone, October '84. We got Ray Bradbury's new chiller Banshee. There's a special Gremlin centerfold. Ride the Monster. Sweepstakes to win a Kawasaki Ninja. Let's see what we can do here. The care and feeding of gremlins. Alright. Then, Twilight Zone, December '85. Exclusive interview with Stephen King, Harlan Ellison, and Phil DeGuerre. The back is Earth will be destroyed in 12 minutes to make way for a hyperspace bypass. Should you hitchhike into the next galaxy or stay and drink a beer? Let's see. There's some Twilight Zone. Now look at this. New adventures in the Scream trade. A non-stop King takes on TV. Non-stop was right, huh? Alright, we're winding down here. So this is Rod Serling's Twilight Zone, June of '86. So David Gerald did the Shaggy Dog story. Many of you will remember him. He was the writer who wrote Star Trek's The Trouble with Tribbles. Richard Matheson's getting together. George Zabrowski, Stooges. Ramsey Campbell, Seeing the World. His interview with Richard Matheson. Movie preview, Big Trouble in Little China. And let's see what we got here for. Here's some scenes for Big Trouble in Little China. Good movie. Fun movie. And then, to wrap it up, great stories from Rod Serling's Twilight Zone magazine. It's a 1983 annual. So that's what it looks like. And I'll just give you some of the writers here. You got Gardner Dozios and Jack Dan, Joyce Carol Oates, Stephen King, George Railroad Martin. I always call him George Railroad Martin because that's how he used to be called, but nowadays I guess they call him George R.R. Martin. Joe Lansdale, George Clayton Johnson, Thomas Dish, Harlan Ellison, Ron Goulart, Connie Willis, Dan Simmons, W.G. Norris, Robert Sheckley, Ramsey Campbell, and Robert Silverberg. So you got some good writers here. So let's see if they. Try to find a picture of. I don't see a picture of Martin. That would have been fun to see how much he's changed. This is King did a book on gargoyles. So some scenes, some pictures from that. Actually, pretty good. Let's see. So, everybody likes George Martin now. So he's 35. Remembering Melody by George R.R. Martin. His college days, love-ins, the flower child fantasies, all had vanished like a puff of pot smoke, or so he thought. But then an unwelcome visitor taught him the importance of remembering melody. And that's the art for the Martin story there. So, with, one of them not very good shape, but for the most part, they are. It's fun to look at the ads and what books were out then and who were the working writers that were managing to sell stuff to this magazine. And the movies, the current movies, it's fun. So that's a small collection of the Twilight Zone magazines. Thank you, BookTube.